Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're taking on something that honestly terrifies a lot of us, asking for money. Look, whether you're trying to fund a brand new startup, a local charity, or, a major university, asking someone to part with their hard-earned cash is intimidating. But here's the thing, it really doesn't have to be. By the time we wrap up here, you're going to have a rock-solid before, during, and after timeline for your donor meetings. We're going to turn that anxiety into pure, structured confidence.
To get us there, we'll be walking through a 6-step playbook. 1. Cultivating your pitch persona. 2. The power of role play. 3. The art of active listening. 4. Crafting the perfect pitch. 5. Making the ask. And finally, 6. Networking and the follow-up.
All right, let's dive right in with a pretty surprising fact from our sources. When we picture people who absolutely command a stage or crush high-stakes pitches, we usually assume they're just natural-born extroverts, right? Well, not exactly. As Adamant Ventures points out, even global superstars like Beyoncé are actually introverts. She's been super open about her anxiety when it comes to performing. So, how does she handle it? She consciously adopts an alter ego for those high-pressure moments, Sasha Fierce.
And that brings us to a really fascinating concept. If Beyoncé can manufacture a persona to push past her nerves, there's absolutely no reason you can't do the exact same thing. The big question you really need to ask yourself before walking into any donor meeting is, how do you adjust your natural tendencies to fit the traits your audience actually expects to see?
So, let's explore that in Section 1, Cultivating Your Pitch Persona. The sources offer some incredibly practical steps for pulling this off. First up, you've got to recognize how your nerves actually manifest. Do you start talking way too fast, or maybe you just freeze up and get unnaturally quiet? Once you acknowledge that, you can strategically tweak your behavior. Next, you want to think about your audience's implicit biases. You need to project the exact characteristics that'll neutralize any doubts they might be holding on to. Put simply, they want to see someone who is calm and highly competent. But here is the absolute key. You have to give yourself permission to reinvent yourself in that room. Your prospect doesn't know you were shy back in high school. They only know the confident persona standing right in front of them today. So put in the reps, practice in front of a mirror, and just own it.
Moving right along to Section 2, the power of role play.
Okay, so once your persona is locked in, the next absolutely critical step before you ever step foot in a room with a donor is deliberate practice. I mean, you wouldn't just wing a massive meeting with Wall Street investors, so why on earth would you wing a donor ask? A really effective way to practice is using a triad structure for role-playing. It works like this. You have the asker, who practices the actual pitch. Then you have the prospect, who throws out realistic objections. And finally, the observer. The observer stays completely silent, watches the body language, and takes notes for the debrief at the end. You want to rotate these roles every 15 to 20 minutes. It's a game changer because it builds empathy and muscle memory from literally every perspective in the room. And to make this practice actually stick, you need to apply it to real-world scenarios. Take these examples from the Annual Giving Network. Are you asking a deeply loyal donor for an upgrade? Are you trying to say reconnect with a lapsed donor who hasn't given a dime in 5 years? Or maybe you're sitting down with a first-time prospect. Setting these highly specific parameters for your role play means that when the real conversation inevitably twists or stalls, you aren't going to panic. Why? Because you've already been there.
That takes us to our third section, the art of active listening.
So now we're moving into the during phase of our timeline, and we hit a major pivot. You're in the room, the persona is on. But here's the realization you need to make right now. Successful fundraising relies on listening, not just pitching. There's a transformative rule you need to remember. Limit your own talking to a strict maximum of 25% of the conversation. I totally get it. When we're nervous, we naturally want to fill the dead air with a barrage of facts about our organization. But you have to remember, this meeting isn't actually about you. It's about uncovering the donor's philanthropic motivations. If you're talking for more than a quarter of the time, you are actively failing to learn about the person sitting across the table. So what do you do when you actually do speak during that 25%? Philanthropy advisors suggest using something called one-word drill downs. Let's say a donor mentions a cause they care deeply about. Do not immediately launch into your pitch. Instead, just say, really, or interesting, and nod. Then, and this is crucial, follow that up with an intentional, deliberate pause. Silence is literally one of the best tools in your toolkit. It naturally prompts the donor to fill the void, opening up about their passions, their family, and what truly motivates them. Now for Section 4, crafting the perfect pitch. Eventually, though, it is going to be your turn to present your organization's work. And when that moment comes, your delivery needs to be incredibly precise and tightly structured. Think of your elevator pitch as a strict 60-second timeline. You're going to start with a snappy 10-second hook just to grab their attention. From there, you move into a 30-second body that highlights your specific social impact. So, not just what you do, but the actual value you create in the world. Finally, you wrap it up with a 20-second conclusion that leads directly into a clear, specific call to action.
Now, a massive trap people fall into during that initial 10-second hook is just reciting their organization's formal mission statement word for word. Please don't do this. Instead of a clunky, jargon-heavy sentence like, "We seek to empower communities through integrated financial services," you want to distill your purpose into a single conversational thought. Try something more like, "We help low-income families become financially stable by offering free classes." See the difference? It's casual, it's crystal clear, and it immediately tells the donor exactly who you serve and the real-world impact you're making.
Which brings us to Section 5, Making the Ask.
All right, we have officially arrived at the absolute climax of the donor meeting. You've listened, you've delivered a flawless pitch, and now it's time to actually ask for the money. After you've checked to make sure the donor doesn't have any lingering questions, you deliver your script with total, unwavering confidence. Pay close attention to how a strong ask is phrased. You don't say, "Could you maybe, sorta, help us out?" No. You name a specific amount or a targeted range. You absolutely must anchor the ask in a real, tangible number so the donor understands exactly what level of partnership you're actually looking for.
And then, immediately after putting that specific number out there, you must deploy the dramatic power of silence. Let the tension sit in the room. Seriously, do not apologize, do not backpedal, and whatever you do not nervously offer a lower number. Just wait quietly while the donor formulates their response. I know, it is easily the hardest part of the entire meeting, but it is absolutely vital.
Regardless of how they respond when that silence finally breaks, your prior role-play preparation means you've already got a clear plan. If they say yes, awesome, seamlessly move to the logistics. Ask them how they'd like to make the gift. If they give you a maybe, ask them what specific information they need to make a final decision, and then schedule the follow-up right there. And if it's a no, don't panic. Just gracefully ask how they would like to stay involved with your mission moving forward.
And that leads us to our final section, number 6, Networking and the Follow-Up.
So, the meeting officially wraps up and we transition into the after phase. This is where we shift our focus away from a single financial transaction and toward long-term relationship building. Basically, you have to completely abandon the old-school mentality. Old-school networking was all about building a fat Rolodex, talking at people, and seeing what you could extract from them. But new-school networking, the kind that actually secures major recurring gifts, is about having meaningful conversations, co-creating value, and establishing deeply trusted connections. And how do you build that trust? In the follow-up. A robust follow-up routine proves to the donor that they're way more than just a checkbook to you. Before the meeting even ends, make sure you establish the next steps. Send a personalized note of appreciation within a few weeks. And later on, don't just call them to ask for more money, reach out to provide concrete updates on your impact. Tell them exactly how their specific gift helps specific individuals. As our sources really emphasize here, replacing basic assumptions with genuine understanding and ongoing stewardship is exactly what turns a one-time giver into a lifelong champion of your cause. As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with one final provocative thought. As you take these strategies, your new pitch persona, the 25% listening rule, the immense power of silence, into your very next meeting, ask yourself this: are you simply collecting contacts, or are you cultivating true partnerships that will drive your mission forward? Master the ask, and you'll find it's always the latter. Thanks so much for joining me, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.